Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news and church stories. I am Oyi Obala. Let's begin. Authorities in southern Cameroon are intensifying efforts to tackle security and social challenges across the country, with a series of major developments making headlines. Several youths, including 4 girls, have been arrested in Buea as part of community crackdown on drug abuse, while in Bamenda, an unidentified young man has been found dead along a roadside in the new layout area. Meanwhile, a mother and her 3 daughters have safely returned home after spending a month in a Boko Haram captivity in Cameroon's far north. In the political sphere as well, an exiled opposition figure, Issa Chiroma, has filed criminal complaint in Switzerland over alleged post-election violence, adding a new international dimension to the ongoing political tensions. All these reports will together come in full details right after the prime headlines. Tonight in Undaunted, several youths, including 4 girls, arrested in community crackdown on drug abuse in Buea. Also tonight, unidentified young man found dead along roadside in Bamenda's new layout. Mother and 3 daughters returned home safely after a month-long Boko Haram captivity in Cameroon's far north, while exiled opposition figure filed criminal complaint in Switzerland over post-election violence. On the African scene, South Africa deports over 53,000 foreign nationals in 5 weeks under intensified migration crackdown, while on the global scene, Trump's signature domestic law faces political reckoning as Democrats prepare mid-term offensive. Now let's get the news in full briefings. Several young people, including at least 4 young girls suspected of consuming and trafficking hard drugs, were apprehended and handed over to police and Great Support Buea on Monday, July 13th, during a community-led operation aimed at tackling the growing problem of substance abuse in the area. The suspects were arrested during coordinated raids on locations identified by residents as drug hideouts, reflecting an increasingly organized response by local communities to the spread of hard drugs among young people in the southern Cameroon. Police officers intervened shortly after the arrest, taking the suspects into custody and preventing them from being subjected to mob justice, a practice that has become increasingly common in parts of southern Cameroon as frustrated communities respond to rising crime and insecurity. The operation is part of a broader wave of community action across the southern Cameroon, where residents have intensified efforts to dismantle drug hotspots, apprehend suspected users and traffickers, and hand them over to law enforcement authorities. Community leaders say the growing availability of hard drugs has contributed to rising youth delinquency, violent crime, and social instability. The latest arrest comes amid mounting concerns over what many residents describe as an inadequate response by police and administrative authorities to their escalating drug problem. Substance abuse has continued to surge across the southern Cameroon, where nearly a decade of armed war has weakened public institutions, sustained law enforcement capacity, and created conditions that have enabled drug trafficking and abuse to flourish among vulnerable youths. All right, that's our first report for tonight. And as usual, we have our in-house analyst, Barrister Mbeshia in the house. Barrister, good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Happy to have you.
All right, Barrister. I remember clearly that the last time we had you here to talk about the regular, was it protest? Yeah, protest against drug abuse in different cities and local government areas of the southern Cameroon. You did explain that that may not really do the work, as we know that drug abuse is a habit, and because of the rate at which it's being taken, usually habits do not just go off because people say you should take it off. You recommended there should be some kind of rehabilitation therapy and all of that would enable the effective handling of the use of drugs in southern Cameroon. Yes, we appreciated the efforts that women, the youths, and everyone is putting into, creating an awareness against drug abuse. But here we have people arrested for this same cause. Do you think that with what you know and how you know is being treated effectively, that this can be a way out for young people to be arrested? After being arrested, what else is going to be done? We just saw that they were arrested and handed over to the police. What can happen right after here?
Well, we don't know what can happen. We know that something could even happen during the so-called arrests. Those suspects, children we can call, might be subjected to mob justice, which will include beating and possibly killing you or the individual the suspects for committing the crime. Drug abuse is a criminal offense punishable under the Criminal Code of Cameroon. And it is a criminal offense like any other offense, theft, murder, any other offense that is punishable there. There is authorized authority to arrest, investigate, and bring the person to book. And so, if this is not, if the people are doing it on their own, something suspicious is going on, which is unwanted. And so again, that's the way the ordinary person, the ordinary resident thinks he or she is fighting against the offense. But again, I've said many times before, where this and the rightful authorities refuse to take action, the ordinary citizen will do whatever thing they could. For now, those people who are so-called arrested and handed over to the police are simply suspects. Can that take them out of the drugs? Certainly not. Because sure, I can guarantee 100%, some of those people that are arrested will be denying the fact. They will deny they ever did it. Yes, they caught them. Did they take the evidence, the drugs they suspected they were doing, or whatever thing they claimed they were doing? Did they take it there to give it to the police or whoever to use it to prosecute them? Just catching them from their house, handing them there, is not enough evidence. The most likely thing that will happen is that if they deny and they insist to deny, and the cigarette or whatever the drugs with them, the police will simply release them because there is no evidence about that. But if they had seen them doing that thing, if they reported it to the rightful authorities, the police, I think, and the police carried out a rightful investigation and came to arrest those people, they will go along with the drugs they have. They will carry them with the evidence. That will be easy to prosecute. Again, I don't blame the citizens for doing what they're doing. They are frustrated with the drug use around the environment. Nobody is taking action to prevent it from happening. The people look for them, upon themselves for self-defense. They think that if these guys are doing these things, I told you what is the essence of drugs. They embolden people. The people who abuse them, those things embolden them. They think that if you take it, they can catch you in the street and rape you or not them. They can snatch your purse in the street and nobody will do anything because that's their make-believe from the drugs. And so they are criminals if they are suspected to be criminals, but that should take a little bit civilized way of doing it. Good enough, I said that arrest could result in harm. We're not told that these guys were harmed. We're not told that any of them was lynched. And so it is only a call to the rightful authorities They right to do their job. They are police. They are in great support. They said it. And then they said there's a police station. Why is their work there if they are not arresting these guys? The civilian population should learn to report these things to the police and be sure when they arrest those people, they don't hurt them, because until they are proven guilty, they remain suspects. But again, even all those guys deny why they were doing the thing. While they were already involved in it, they were not caught red-handed. You are allowed to arrest somebody when the person is caught red-handed doing something. And if they are not caught red-handed or caught red-handed, the truth is that drugs are there. As I said in the last segment, how would they be taken out of these drugs if they're already used to it? The population cannot do it, only government agencies can do it. And so those are the who still believe in here on the government. The government should harden its efforts, should improve to make sure they stop the drug use, to make sure they take those who are already involved out for counseling and the council and in fact rebuilding them to normal human beings. They make sure they stop the drug circulation. Those guys are just buying them and using them. The sellers are not the ones being arrested. And so we have to fight the problem from the roots. The roots is somebody is selling it and somebody is buying it. As I said, there will be no drug buyers, no drug users until they are drug sellers. And there will be no sellers until they were users. And so the government is the one which is competent to address the root cause of this thing and to arrest it from the root causes. Look for the perpetrators, the ones who are selling the drugs there. Look for where they are brought and then stop the marketing. Once the marketing is stopped, the buyers will have no way to buy that thing. The sellers will cease to exist and the community will live in peace. Again, it is the responsibility of the government to enforce all its laws. Drug abuse is one of those laws. If they are not enforcing it, they are failing in their security. They are failing security-wise. They can go back and rethink their services, retrain the policemen, their gendarmes, on how to identify drugs, how to prosecute them, and above all, how to counsel drug users out of their bad habits. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. Over to our next report on insecurity. This report is on insecurity in Bamenda. Residents of new layout near Finance Junction in Queen Bamenda woke up on Friday to the lifeless body of an unidentified young man lying by the roadside in what appears to be another grim incident of unexplained violence in the area. Well, according to local sources, the victim had sustained a fatal gunshot wound to the head. His identity had not been established at the time of reporting, and the circumstances surrounding his death remain unclear. No group or individual has claimed responsibility for the killing, while authorities have yet to issue an official statement on this issue. But then, the discovery has sparked concern among residents, many of whom say they have become increasingly accustomed to finding bodies abandoned along roadsides amid the protracted war in southern Cameroon. For years, the ongoing war has been marked by frequent reports of civilians and unidentified individuals being found dead under unclear circumstances. Human rights organizations have documented numerous cases of extrajudicial killings, targeted attacks, and violence involving both state security forces and the Amazonian State Army, although responsibility for many individuals' deaths remain disputed or unconfirmed. Well, Friday's incident adds to a growing list of unresolved killings in the southern Cameroon, where fear and insecurity continues to shape daily life. As of the time of publication, the victim's body had not been formally identified, and investigations into the circumstances of his death were ongoing. And like we would always say, this is a regular occurrence in the southern Cameroon. Dead bodies are usually found almost every morning, and it's just sad that, civilians would have to bear the brunt of all of this war. Barrister Mbeshia, another sad tale here.
Well, again, this is Bamenda. You see, there's something so common about this unidentified people dead. The people where the guy is lying, the dead man is lying, the people in the locality don't know him. That would suggest that he is killed from some other distant place and brought there. The residents of that place don't have the capacity to carry a dead body on a wheelbarrow and come from one community to come and drop in their own community. If somebody is doing that, that person must have an interest. If somebody is able to do that, because the fact that they cannot identify that guy means that he was killed far away. And then, if he's killed far away and shot, it didn't just that he was shot somewhere far away, and the killers were bold enough to put him in the vehicle because he was driven there in the vehicle, sure, he was not carried on the head, and dumped there. It shows some type of organized crime, some type of organized and protected crime. Because as I said before, Bamenda, which we are talking about, the streets are full of gendarmes, of bees, of police and everything, even the vigilantes who are paid by the government. If there are vigilantes everywhere, there are bees, there are gendarmes, there are police everywhere in town, how come either a vehicle will circulate with a dead body from wherever it is to be dumped somewhere else unknown? This organized crime can be traced directly or indirectly to government. We know there's war going on there. Amba boys or Amba fighters, the legitimate fighters, don't have vehicles to carry people when they are dead and dump them somewhere else. The other people, the opponents who are fighting the Ambazonian fighters, are the only people equipped with vehicles, equipped with heavy trucks, equipped with everything that you can use to transport people. They are the ones who can do that. That case, this particular case, our Ambazonian fighters is completely ruled out. If Ambazonian fighters kill someone, call it 10 miles away there, and they don't have the means to come and carry the dead body to 10 miles away, what will interest the government or somebody else to carry that dead person to come and dump it there? We suspect the hands of government are somewhere behind it. Because if you read behind the screen, what is the goal? The goal is to tell the people that life is so dangerous in this Bamenda. Dangerous for what? Dangerous simply because there is ongoing war. Until you stop this war, they are fighting an invisible army. Our guerrilla fighters are invisible. You don't see them. They come out, perform, and go away. And they are believed, widely believed it is the truth, that they fight with the cooperation of the community. Because they live among the people and they fight their cause. And so the opponent who wants to frighten the community into anything else will kill you, carry your body and dump somewhere else to warn the people that this guy is dead. Maybe he was cooperating with the Ambazonian fighters. If he cooperates once more, you too will die like this. And again, if they have a government there, it is their responsibility to secure the town, to secure the streets and every place there. Because the primary goal of any government is to defend its own citizens. If these people in Bamenda and these ones being killed are rightfully the citizens of Cameroon, as they call it, why fight against illegal killings? Why are their killers not being prosecuted for what they are doing? Why is the state not investigating enough to identify and to prosecute the perpetrators? All fingers point to one goal only. They point to the perpetrators to be the government, the people who could have acted. They point to their agents, be they the vigilante they have employed, or somebody working for them. And if they are not doing this, they have simply told people in Bamenda, in particular, and by extension, Ambazonia, that you are not part of us. We can eliminate you. Our agents can do it for us. We can do it ourselves, and no question we ask. We cannot mention how many Ambazonians have been killed, even publicly, by the public, and nobody was ever held accountable. We have given several examples before. How much less of this? Again, as the practice is always, they will tell you, we don't identify this guy, investigations are ongoing. But how long would the investigations go? And I end this with again, the Pope was in Bamenda and said all this random killing will stop. It has to stop, at least as said by God. It has to stop, at least as per human reasoning. Ordinarily, it should not be killing people like that. And Brazilians don't kill people for no reason. In this war, as far as this war is concerned, what we know is that it is the government of Cameroon that has been killing people publicly without any remorse. We remember Maapi, we remember Samsoya, and we can name them by their numbers. They were killed publicly. Those are the ones we can name. Well, those who got burnt in houses, set ablaze by the government, deliberately they were killed. No questions asked. So this nonsense must stop, and it will stop. And Ambazen is on the way. A struggle, and we'll fight and continue to fight until those of us who survive will put an end to this. And if I may add there, if it is possible, we'll hold this Republic Cameroon accountable. They will be accountable for these things, criminally and financially. The families who have lost their loved ones will be compensated for because they didn't join them to come and be killed. We do not claim to be one Cameroon and indivisible for one population to be eliminated every day and night. Even not by them, nobody would investigate. And so again, this is all the reasons why we fight. Our every life is so dear to us. And the life of this young man seems a young man. He probably has a family, a wife, a children, and his own people to mourn him. And all of us must mourn him, and mourn him only with one cry. This Ambazonian thing, this war brought on us must end. Because we're just victims, coming to fight us, kill us indiscriminately, including Samsoya, including Ma Api, including baby, whoever we can call them. They committed no crime. They have no reason to be executed extrajudicially. And so again, Ambazonians, this should be a step warning. And to our brothers who still think that they belong to that hole, you're wasting your time. These people don't care a dime. You are not one of them. You are only as good as you are dead. If you are not dead, the only thing they want from you is your money. You don't get it from extorting from you on the street. You get it from the resources that we have. Our gas, our oil in Bakassi, the gods will not let them go free. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister. Moving on, a mother and her 3 young daughters were being abducted from their home in Guzudo village located in Cameroon's far north, having returned safely after spending about a month in captivity, bringing relief to their family and the wider community. The victims were taken during a night raid between June 9th and 10th when suspected Boko Haram fighters reportedly stormed the village and seized the woman and her children. Their disappearance sparked fear and anxiety among residents who spent weeks awaiting news of their whereabouts. The family were united, and on July 11th, after the 4 captives were released and returned home, their safe arrival was met with relief by relatives and community members who had remained uncertain about their fate since the abduction. Authorities and local sources have not disclosed details surrounding the circumstances of their release. It remains highly unclear whether negotiations were held, whether any demands were made, or if any conditions were attached to securing their freedom. Just like the southern Cameroons are experiencing kidnappings and insecurities, Cameroons too are experiencing that as well. The far north of Cameroon has 4 years faced insecurity linked to Boko Haram and affiliated armed groups as well, with civilians often targeted in cross-border raids, kidnappings, and attacks. The return of the mother and her daughters comes as communities in the region and environment continues to grapple with the impact of prolonged violence and displacement. Security officials are expected to provide more information about this. An investigation into this particular incident continues as we seek to find out those who may have been responsible for this abduction. Barrister, as you can see, this is when it comes to insecurity, it seems like it's also everywhere in both the French Cameroon and the southern Cameroon.
Yeah, there's insecurity everywhere. The most important thing is how you handle the insecurity. We've all heard about Boko Haram. I don't know what their demands are, but they pose a security risk to the areas wherever they are invading. They pose a security risk. And from time to time, they take people like this and go away. I'm sure whatever their demands, they did not include the life of that woman and her 3 children. So for the first time, for the only time I can say, we can also say thank you, Boko Haram, for sparing the lives of those 2 people, that woman and her children. They have nothing to do for your cause. You let them go. And that will only help us to look back. This is Boko Haram setting free people after a whole month. We remember in 2016, 2017, there was a similar case in that very same area called Northern Cameroon, where a woman was suspected for cooperating with Boko Haram. She was there with a little baby, her child, like an other child, not less than 10 years old. There are people in the Cameroon shot that woman dead with her child. And they faked an excuse that it was an event in Mali. Until they were confronted with the evidence that they did it, did they then have to accept that where we did it? And so you find the behavior of an organized army vis-a-vis a group so-called terrorist group. And so if this terrorist group, if it is Boko Haram, if they could set free this woman with her children, it shows that at least they're able to talk. They are talking. Let us agree that there was some negotiation. There must be negotiation when there is trouble. If you refuse to negotiate, you die, people will die in vain. It will take a fortune to kill Buea. It will take a fortune to kill a head of state or a minister. But it takes seconds to kill the ordinary citizen who is caught in crossfire. I will remember the late Speaker of the National Assembly. The very Boko Haram adopted his wife, whose wife was a medical doctor. They negotiated, paid a ransom of billions in order to secure that woman. What does this all tell us? Boko Haram, as bad as it is, they are able to negotiate. And they have negotiated in the past. What is wrong with the very Cameroon that is negotiating with Boko Haram and releasing those people? What is wrong with them not negotiating with Ambazonians to end the war? Because I don't know what the Boko Haram is asking for. But they have negotiated with them before. Perhaps they negotiated this time to have this woman released. And if they can do that with a group, an unknown group, what prevents them from doing it with Ambazonians, a man with a known history, with identifiable problems? It is some empty pride, and the people are dying on both sides. Our own people are dying. Theirs are equally dying for the sheer pride of Mr. Buea, who is the principal perpetrator of all these things. From saying, well, let us negotiate this thing. Let us go and sit down and listen to them and hear what the problem is. We'll give our opinion, they give their own opinion. Somewhere between the we and the free, we'll get an answer, and the war will stop. If they cannot negotiate by themselves, they invited the Pope, according to what they told us, they invited the Pope. And the Pope did not deliver any message different from what I'm saying. He said, guns are not the answer. Whether these guns are from the government or from the enemy, they are not the answer. Negotiation is the approach. Go address the root causes of the problem. Blame who you can blame. Find the solution that is acceptable to both sides and part your ways. And so we thank Boko Haram for releasing that particular woman and her children, because I've said, I believe 100%. She has nothing to do with the pride of Boko Haram. Neither do those her children. And so we thank whoever helped to release her and her children. We hope they will continue to stop the senseless killing by Boko Haram of those poor people. They have to do something to stop it. And by extension, they have to do something to stop whatever the thing they are doing in Amazonia. Come, sit down and talk with the government of Amazonia. If you think you are wrong, if we think that we are wrong, bring the thing there. We see it, prove that we are wrong. If we are right, we'll be right. Justice will be done. The war will end. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister. And over now, we head over to Issa Chiroma, who is an exiled opposition figure, saying that he has filed 2 criminal complaints with the Swiss judicial authorities, seeking to hold those he believes are responsible for the violence that followed Cameroon's October 12, 2025 presidential election. In a statement received by our newsroom on Friday, Chiroma said that the complaints were submitted under the principle of universal jurisdiction. Well, according to the statement, the first complaint concerns alleged crimes committed during the post-election crackdown, while the second focuses on the death of opposition figure Ansit Aken, whose case remains a source of tension amongst opposition supporters. Chiroma said the Swiss filings extends proceedings initiated before French judicial authorities on the 12th of June and are based on international conventions relating to torture and enforced disappearances. Their statement names former government officials, senior police and gendarmerie officers, military personnel and civilians alleged to have been involved in the post-election violence, including the use of force against demonstrators. These are serious allegations that have not been established by any court of law, and none of those named has publicly responded. But the statement also describes Jackie Bertrand Mang and Mayor Joseph Esper Biang as victims of judicial harassment and commends lawyer Alice Income for providing legal assistance to detainees arrested during the post-election arrest. The latest filings represent a further step in Chirama's efforts to pursue international legal action over alleged human rights violation linked to the disputed 2025 presidential French election. It remains unclear whether Swiss authorities will open a formal investigation or if they will decline. Barrister, we just want to know, as someone who has practiced both national and international law, do you think that the Swiss government will pay attention to this filing that he has done?
Oh, well, they would, and this is why. It is better for us to understand why he is doing what he is doing, and why it is possible that that jurisdiction could take over the case. See, very nationally, you prosecute criminals within your own national territory. If a man commits a crime in Cameroon, the Cameroonian authorities are supposed to prosecute that person. Because that country called Cameroon or Ghana or Nigeria, they have a government which role I've said earlier is to protect its own citizens. And the way you protect your citizens is bringing people who do offense against them to book. That's a national law. But there are crimes that are committed so heinous that it is recognized that the individual countries are not willing to prosecute the perpetrators. Just like in southern Cameroon and Tanzania today. Because the people who are committing those offenses are very highly placed up there. The very regime will not prosecute them. Let me say, for example, if Paul Buea came and broke into your house and stole your money, that's armed robbery. But which policeman do you expect to arrest Paul Buea to be put on trial? Which court do you expect to arrest Paul Buea to be put on trial? They know that he committed the crime, but nobody will dare prosecute him. The same thing will go back to what Issa Chiroma is trying to do. Issa Chiroma, people committed crimes after the elections and killed people. These people who committed the offenses are 99% government sponsored. The government of Cameroon will not prosecute its own actors. Just like we said in the case of the killing people and dumping them in the streets. If that dumping in Bamenda, for example, was orchestrated by Lele Afrique, the governor, who said, okay, you have killed that guy in Santa, come and dump him in Valley. Who will prosecute Lele Afrique? He's so highly placed, nobody will prosecute him. And so by their own national law, they are both prosecution. But the law also allows different countries to say, well, we assume jurisdiction. If you commit this crime anywhere else in the world other than our territory, we can prosecute you. We'll prosecute you right here, even though the offense was not committed in our country. And they have done that many times before. I don't know whether this is Switzerland or Norway, but many countries have that power, including France. He has filed one of these complaints in France. And let me give you an example to illustrate universal jurisdiction with politicians. If those of us who know history, remember there was a guy called Hissène Habré. He was the president of Chad. And as president, he committed a lot of war crimes. He killed people. When they overthrew him, he fled and went to Senegal. Nobody was able to prosecute him because he was a head of state. In Chad, you cannot prosecute the head of state, just like in Cameroon, you will not prosecute the head of state. But he had left power, he had been overthrown, he fled to Senegal. When the Senegalese government recognized he was the former head of state, we will protect him because he's one of us. The government said, well, he was my colleague yesterday, we cannot prosecute him. But what happened there is the Belgian state prosecutor in Belgium, not in Africa, they filed a complaint there in Belgium for Belgium to assume universal jurisdiction. They call it universal jurisdiction. And they assumed universal jurisdiction to try Hissène Habré for offenses he committed in Chad when he was head of state, not in Belgium. He has since left Chad. He was being protected in Senegal. And so, under the universal jurisdiction, they succeeded. They indicted him in Belgium. And said word to Senegal, we have indicted this guy, send him to us for trial. Because he committed crimes in Chad, crimes that were recognized to be offenses, for which he had never been prosecuted. They want to prosecute him. So Senegal did not know what to do. Senegal said, well, how can we send away the head of state, former head of state? They went to the African Union and they created a court. For that purpose, I'm trying to show you how universal jurisdiction works, even for people who are heads of states. They created a court in Senegal, which tried Hissène Habré in Senegal over offenses committed in Chad. And he was found guilty and sentenced to life. And so back to Issa Chiroma. What Issa Chiroma is doing is perfectly legally right. Shall he succeed? I think 100% chance of success. The only difficulty he might have, which will not prevent prosecution, is they might say, okay, we are indicting these people here. Cameroon government give us these people to try them in Switzerland or in Paris, as the case might be. And Cameroon refuse to deport those people for trial there because they are government agents. We all remember he mentioned Anissa the Kane judge. Anissa the Kane judge was a highly placed political figure, but he was a sick man. He supported Issa Chiroma. After the elections, they adopted their people, took one of his own relatives. He went with his 2 legs to religion to ask, where is my brother or whoever was his sister? And they caught him. He was living on artificial breathing. They took his breathing apparatus. Eventually, they killed him. He died, but they killed him because if you take away what gives him life to survive, you have killed the guy. They killed him. He went to religion. That is an official office. He was adopted from there. Who is going to prosecute the legion commander in Cameroon? Nobody. Who is going to prosecute the police or the magistrate who signed his arrest warrant, if there was any? Nobody, because they are so well placed over there. And so that protection, that political protection they enjoy in Cameroon ceases to exist if the Swiss government or the Norwegian government or the British government decides to prosecute the criminals. They will not come, but they can be prosecuted in absentia. If they don't come, those countries have the power to give international arrest warrant, and that would keep them permanently in Cameroon. Because the day they cross the border from Cameroon to somewhere else, they can be arrested by Interpol. And so that is what it means. Will it succeed? It can succeed, and it should succeed. Is it legally right? Perfectly right. He's doing the right thing legally. At least, even if you have to bring all these people to trial, it sends a warning sign to future actors, their Tanganyis, that you are not so covered. Your protection is limited. Sooner or later, the veil will fall off, and you are going to face criminal liability, if not in Cameroon, somewhere else in the world. And so that is an important message Issa Chiroma is sending. It is a rightful legal approach. And I may just add here that we ourselves as Ambazonians, we've tried that before. We have filed issues at the ICC, International Criminal Court, which has been received. We think action is being taken. But in addition to that, we have done exactly what Issa Chiroma has done. We filed complaints in different countries to assume jurisdiction over the crimes being committed by Cameroon against Ambazonians. Among those countries, Norway. Among those countries, Belgium and others. We filed them there under the same lines, under the same principles that Issa Chiroma is doing. That to tell the world and to tell Cameroonians who think that they are above the law, that there's only so much you can hide from the law. The law is universal. The crimes you commit are war crimes. They are protected under international law. You can do them sometimes in Cameroon, but you are not going to be free when it comes to international justice. And we can say thank you, Mr. Issa Chiroma, for taking that line. If they don't hold them accountable today, they might be held accountable tomorrow. But above all, that's a warning sign to all criminals in Cameroon who have believed in the protection of their own government. That your government has a limit. They have somewhere where they cannot go beyond. They are not going to escape international justice. Again, thank Mr. Issa Chiroma and her legal team for doing what they are supposed to do. Over to you.
Thanks, Barrister. You're very positive about Isechuruma, and that's fine. Well, hopefully tomorrow we'll come back here and Undaunted. We'll have several reports to bring to the front burner. But until then, thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
When we return from the break, we'll head into Africa, especially South Africa, where South Africa has reported over 53,000 foreign nationals in 5 weeks under intensified migration crackdown. The South African government has announced that more than 53,000 foreign nationals have been deported or repatriated within 5 weeks as part of an intensified nationwide migration management campaign aimed at tracking illegal immigration and strengthening border security. The large-scale operation, coordinated by law enforcement and immigration authorities, forms part of broader efforts to identify undocumented migrants, enforce immigration laws, and improve the country's migration control system. Officials say the campaign has involved increased inspections, arrests, and the processing of individuals found to be residing in the country without valid documentation. The government maintains that the initiative is intended to uphold the rule of law, protect national security, and ensure compliance with immigration regulation. Authorities have also continued to enhance border surveillance and collaborate with neighboring countries to facilitate the return of those deported or repatriated. The latest figures prove the scale of South Africa's ongoing efforts to address irregular migration amid growing domestic concerns over border management, public safety, and pressure in public services. The campaign is expected to continue as authorities intensify enforcement measures across the country. When we return, we'll go to the globe, where Trump's signature domestic law faces political reckoning as Democrats prepare mid-term offensive. One year after President Donald Trump signed the sweeping One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law, what was intended to be defining legislative achievements of his second term is increasingly emerging as a central political battleground ahead of midterm elections. The anniversary of the landmark legislation passed without public recognition during Trump's July 4th celebrations, marking the nation's 250th anniversary. Instead, the president focused his remark on economic gains, election policy, and recent military actions abroad, leaving the law that once stood at the center of his domestic agenda largely absent from the day's messaging. When enacted on the 4th of July 2025, Republican leaders promoted the legislation as a transformative package designed to deliver tax relief, reshape federal spending, and advance key conservative policy priorities. The measure was widely accepted to provide a powerful campaign message for GOP candidates seeking to defend congressional majorities. However, as implementation of several major provisions continue, Democrats have intensified efforts to frame the law as evidence of Republican priorities that they argue disproportionately benefits corporations and higher income Americans while reducing support for social programs. Party strategists increasingly view the legislation as a potential rallying point to energize voters in competitive congressional districts. Republicans continue to defend the measure as a cornerstone of their economic agenda, pointing to business investment, tax reduction, and broader fiscal reforms as evidence that the law is strengthening long-term economic growth. They maintain that the legislation fulfills key campaign promises and positions the United States for sustained competitiveness. With campaigning for the midterm accelerating, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is expected to remain one of the most closely scrutinized policy achievements of Trump's presidency, serving as a defining issue for both parties as they compete to shape voter perceptions of the administration's domestic record. Oh well, we'll definitely see to the end of this particular one. But this is where we draw the curtains on tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made it to tonight's headlines. Well, tonight on Undaunted, several youths, including 4 girls, were arrested in community crackdown on drug abuse in Buea. Tonight, we told you that unidentified young man was found dead along Roadside in Bamenda's new layout. Also tonight, mother and 3 daughters returned home safely after month-long Boko Haram captivity in Cameroon's far north, while exiled opposition figure files criminal complaint in Switzerland over post-election violence, while in South Africa, on the African scene, South Africa deports over 53,000 foreigners and nationals in 5 weeks under intensified migration. On the global scene, we told you that Trump's signature's domestic law faces political reckoning as Democrats prepare mid-term offensive. And that's it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on Touch Stories. On behalf of Barrister Mbeshia and a team of technicians behind tonight's production, is good night and God bless you.